Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Kennedy. I am the Director of eHealth Programs here at the Massachusetts eHealth Institute, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this grant webinar, and welcome to the Connected Communities Implementation Grant Program webinar. As part of today's agenda, we're going to walk through a bit of an introduction of the grant program process, legal considerations, and give you an overview of MeHI. Then we'll dive into the Connected Communities Implementation Grant Program specifically, offering a little background, going over the eligibility criteria, milestones, and application process and timelines. We'll then open it up for questions. I'll work to make the opening part of this roughly 35, maybe 40 minutes, leaving a good 20 minutes for questions. With me today are Ross Venables, he's our Grants and Contracts Administrator, and Olivia Joplin, she's our eHealth Programs Coordinator. As we go through this webinar, you may have a number of questions. Feel free to enter those into the chat section of the GoToMeeting as we go through the webinar. At the end of the webinar, we'll simply walk through all those and answer as many as we can for you on the line today. And for those that we're unable to answer, we'll go ahead and we'll include in the FAQ document that we'll post as soon as we can after this webinar. So with that, I'm going to invite Ross Venables to go ahead and offer an overview of some of the legal considerations for this particular grant.
Great, thank you, Sean. Just wanted to highlight some of the legal issues that relate to this solicitation. First, the solicitation has been posted to both the MeHI and to the MassTech websites, and also to the Commonwealth's procurement portal known as Combis, and that's located at combis.com. To the extent anything stated or presented in this webinar is inconsistent with the solicitation document, that written solicitation document will govern. MassTech reserves all rights to amend, modify, or otherwise clarify the solicitation and any written answers to questions received. Please check the MassTech and MeHI websites on a regular basis during the course of this solicitation. It is the respondent's responsibility to check for updates and modifications. Please review the solicitation carefully. Non-responsive applications will be rejected. Finally, just a bit about MassTech itself. MassTech Collaborative was established by the Commonwealth, the legislature. The governing statute is Mass General Laws, Chapter 40J. MassTech is an independent authority of the Commonwealth. MeHI, the Mass eHealth Institute, is a non-divisible component of MassTech. It functions as a business division of MassTech. That's it. Thank you. Back to you, Sean.
Great. Thanks a lot, Ross. So let me continue with that MeHI overview here. So as Ross mentioned, we're a division of the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative that is a public economic development agency. We have two sister institutes. There's the Mass Broadband Institute. You may have heard of some of their work in the Mass Broadband 123 effort that is laying down, I think it's 1,200 miles of fiber across western and north central Massachusetts. And they also have a program called the Mass Vets Advisor that is a web-based program, a benefit site for veterans here in Massachusetts. It's a really wonderful resource. Check it out if you have an opportunity, massvetsadvisor.org. And then our Innovation Institute, where they do the Tech Hub Collaborative, have a big data consortium, run the Advanced Manufacturing Collaborative, and publish the Innovation Index on an annual basis. So we at MeHI are the designated state agency for coordinating healthcare innovation, technology, and competitiveness, accelerating the adoption of health IT, promoting health IT to improve the safety, quality, and efficiency of healthcare in Massachusetts, and generally advancing the dissemination of EHR systems in all healthcare provider settings. We have a vision of being the global leader in e-health. Our connected communities enjoy better health at lower cost and serve as models of innovation and economic development. Given Massachusetts' stature nationally and internationally and our efforts in health reform, we feel that Massachusetts can follow suit when it comes to e-health. What we work to do on a daily basis, though, is really work to engage healthcare community and catalyze the development, adoption, and effective use of health IT. We have a number of goals that we're working to contribute to, working to get to that 100% adoption of interoperable EHRs, working hard to support our health reform efforts, getting toward better health, better care, and lower costs, do a lot of work around consumer e-health engagement and coming up with programs and advising on policies that would engage consumers in their health care digitally, and then working to grow and promote innovation in the e-health cluster. How do we make Massachusetts a favorable place to do business for e-health type organizations? And we look at ourselves as the health IT resource for Massachusetts. We have a number of programs that we offer, services, education, many collaboration opportunities, and as you'll see today, a number of funding opportunities. So let me go into the Connected Communities program. This is one of a number of programs offered here at MeHI, a number of ones that I manage. And we start by talking about the problem that we are working to address. We identified through a survey last year that was a consumer and provider health IT survey that we actually had quite broad adoption and use of electronic health records here in Massachusetts. Then we're at 79%, presumably we're a little bit over that now, across all sectors. But what we noticed was that providers within and across communities were not connected in a manner that optimally promotes care coordination and population health. Further, as part of Chapter 224, there is a requirement for MeHI to develop what we call EHR plans. We're turning that to an e-health plan, but they comment on those plans being community-based implementation plans that assess the municipalities or regions' readiness to implement and use electronic health record systems and interoperable electronic health records within the referral market for a defined patient population. Again, some of the charges out of 224 that really helped us put a framework around this Connected Communities program. And as part of this program, we're aiming toward a number of objectives. One, we want to catalyze interorganizational collaboration. Organizations sharing information and sharing processes between organizations is not something that healthcare is generally practiced in the long term, though in recent years it's certainly something that we've become much better at. Advance the use of interoperable electronic health records and drive a more connected healthcare ecosystem here in the Commonwealth. A first step to doing that was to build out a framework for how we would provision resources and engage the state. So we work with our Health Policy Commission colleagues and we aligned to their secondary service markets. We've identified 15 communities from the Berkshires up to Newburyport down to the Cape and Islands. We further clustered those communities into 3 regions. And to those 3 regions, we assigned one eHealth community manager each. So in Western and Central Mass, we have an eHealth community manager. In the Northeast, we have an eHealth community manager. And in the Southeast, we're looking for an eHealth community manager. So if you're aware of anyone and people that would be interested in this position, we certainly would look forward to a referral on that front. Leveraging that framework, we then work to collaborate with a diverse set of community stakeholders, ranging from organizations across the state. We work to gather their input through a comprehensive statewide needs assessment process. We just completed this needs assessment process, and we developed community e-health assessments. So each of the communities put together community, and those are now on our website. So I would encourage you to click on this link, go to this page. It'll take you to a map of Massachusetts where you can click on the region of interest, and then you'll see the respective e-health assessments by community listed there. Really a wonderful source of information about the communities and what they're doing, and really just a wonderful process to learn from everyone out in the community. We then fed the statewide and community needs assessment findings and priorities into development of a statewide e-health plan that is currently in progress. nearly done with the first draft of that, and we're working to shop that around to organizations. And then we're awarding community grants aimed at priorities identified from the needs assessment and the community health assessments. And these grants are intended to demonstrate community collaboration. Our eHealth community managers, those regional leaders from MeHI, are going to work to foster that collaborative environment. So let's dive into these connected community grants. So as part of this granting process, community collaboration and action, strengthen transitions between different care settings, improve cross-setting care management among inter-organizational care team members. While not required as part of this grant, applications will be viewed favorably that also include projects that use notifications to facilitate improved care management and demonstrate community collaboration around a real-world, practical, measurable need aligned to a specific focus area. This grant program seeks to fund impactful projects that focus on strengthening these information workflows. The intent of these grants is to encourage care providers to work together to develop coordinated strategies, processes, and workflows that leverage the eHealth capabilities of their community, build upon existing or previous investments from related programs, some of which are from other agencies. MeHI administered the Highway Implementation Grants and the Highway Vendor Integration Grants. HPC is leading up the CHART grants, DPH with the Prevention Wellness Trust fund grants, and then clearly meaningful use from the federal side as well as from the Mass Health side. And then there's a number of other ones that are out there as well. Capitalize on the community collaboration that is started under the statewide needs assessment and supported by MeHI's eHealth community managers. And then to turn all this activity we currently have underway and turn it into community-supported action. So as part of this program, or this grant program, we're dividing care coordination into two parts. This is a big emphasis of this program is care coordination, but it was really too big in unto itself, so we broke it up into two parts. One is care transitions, and the other is cross-setting care management. So under this program, you need to provide care transitions, intend to focus on transitions of a patient between different acuity settings. So some examples include from a hospital to a skilled nursing facility, from a skilled nursing facility to home health, from a hospital to home health. Cross-setting care management we're defining to reflect the care for a patient by a care team that spans different care settings. So a care coordinator supporting the integrated care of a high-needs patient across inpatient, outpatient therapy, and in-home care, or more of an ongoing basis. To be eligible for this program, to be a lead or an applicant for this grant program, it's limited to organizations involved in treatment, payment, and healthcare operations as defined under HIPAA. Examples include practices, plans, hospitals. Collaborating organizations may be TPO-type organizations or non-TPO type organizations. Further, MeHI encourages collaborators to be with civic and non-profit, potentially non-TPO organizations to create a true community approach to addressing health needs. So it could be municipalities, local public health departments will be examples of some of those civic and nonprofit organizations. So we structured this award to be a milestone-based payment award. These payments will be made based upon the achievement of 4 milestones over a 2-year period. For year 1, generally we envision that this first year will focus on building and strengthening information pathways, and in year 2 is intended to work to measure progress, perform quality improvement efforts, and meet volume targets. So the first area of interest, there is a planning element to this grant, and we're requiring grantees to generate a transformation plan, and we're going to provide you $25,000 or 10% of the estimated full grant award up to the $25,000 at the get-go of this program once you come on board as a grantee, and that's going to be there to help fund development of the transformation plan. We see this as a substantial document that would be essentially the approach you're going to take over the course of the 2 years in a bit more detail than we may see in the proposal. We're also looking for a diagram illustrating the information pathways to be created or leveraged for this grant, a detailed cost budget, and then the completed MeHI use case development form with volume targets for each information pathway, one for each distinct clinical or business use case scenarios as an example. So the first milestone after you complete your transformation plan and it's accepted by MeHI is the development and testing milestone. This will be a 25% portion of the payment. And the deliverables here are going to be an attestation from the grantee and collaborators, including the trading partners, that the test transactions are being sent received for the use case described in the HIE use case development form in the test environment, substantiated by a transaction log detailing the test transactions and organizations involved. We're also looking for a copy of the highway or HIE participation agreement for the lead organization and each collaborating organization, description of the organization's policies and procedures to protect electronic health information, an identification of impacted workflows, and description of preliminary workflow enhancements. Milestone 2 is our care coordination prototype milestone, again 25% payment, and the deliverable here is a similar attestation from grantee and collaborators that real transactions are being sent received for the use case described in the development form in the production environment, substantiated by transaction log from the sponsoring HIE. We're also looking for a logical process diagram, so a diagram depicting the processes that are in place or will be in place, a process improvement plan, recognizing that as you start to venture outside the walls of your organization or to build on that, there are going to be numerous opportunities to improve that are going to help you toward the next milestone that is strengthening. Also looking for any updates to the description of the health IT environment, so any add-ons that may have been made to that environment, policies and procedures to protect information, any changes to the approved HIE use case form and or the approved transformation plan. And milestone 3, this is really focusing on strengthening workflows, again 25% payment, and attestation from grantee of completion of their process improvement plan. So that process improvement plan was a deliverable as part of milestone 2. That's the main body of the effort for milestone 3, is to work through and complete that process improvement plan along with the substantiating documentation. A description of the approach to operationalize opt-in consent for use of the Mass Highway, and then updates to the health IT environment, procedures to protect information, the HI use case form, and or the transformation plan. And then the final milestone, milestone 4, are going to be hitting your volume targets. Again, 25% payment. And here, use case volume table, looking for a use case volume table signed by an officer of each participating organization saying that you've hit your volume targets for the respective use case scenarios that we agreed to. A log report substantiating transaction volume from the grantee's HIE. Also looking for a use case expansion plan. This is an effort where we're looking to say, what does life look like after the grant, and how are you going to work to broaden this, get more people to use it, and essentially grow out this HIE and community capability that you started under this program. And then a final report. So let's go into the process and evaluation criteria. The review process is going to be a 2-tier process. There's going to be a pre-application tier and an application tier. Submitted pre-applications will be reviewed by MeHI. MeHI also reserves the right to have pre-applications reviewed by an external review team and to provide feedback on the pre-applications, which may include recommendations to applicants to combine and adjust projects to improve chances for success, take advantage of economies of scale, and other considerations that may increase the impact of the program. Only organizations that submit a pre-application and are invited by MeHI to submit a full application will be eligible for funding under this grant program. Full applications will be reviewed by MeHI and an external review team, and meritorious full applications will be awarded a community implementation grant. The pre-application, we intend this to be a short pre-application, up to 3 pages, and it should include the following information. Identify the lead organization that intends to apply for the grant and associated project contracts by completing attachment D, which is the application summary sheet form. Identify each collaborating organization. Provide a project overview that includes the following elements: a project summary, goal statement, project objectives, expected outcomes and measures, an estimate of the grant funding requested, and a list and summary description of other state-funded efforts that were awarded to the applicant or collaborating organizations that include an investment in health IT. So if your investment from any of these ones listed here as examples or others don't include a health IT component, then it's not really what we're interested in. But if there is some provisioning of health IT or use of health IT to support these other efforts, we really want to encourage you to add those in here, and integrating and thinking about how to integrate with those is certainly a big objective as part of this program. Attachment D does not need to count toward your page count, and the list and description of the other funded efforts also does not count toward your page count, just the bullets 2, 3, and 4. Upon written invitation from MeHI to submit a full application, the applicant will be required to submit an application package that includes the following. We've got a proposal narrative. We'll go through in more detail on the next slide. Eligibility substantiation form, current use of health IT form, officer certification form, signed grantee organizational letter of approval stating that they're open to sponsoring this project. Similarly, from each collaborating organization, a letter of support from each of them. Applicant summary sheet form, authorized applicant signature and acceptance form, and exceptions to the general terms and conditions of the contract in attachment F. The full application proposal narrative should include the following. We're looking for an abstract, a brief abstract, not to exceed 500 words. Put some effort into this abstract, though, because this is something that we're going to use to quickly orient reviewers to applicants' proposals and will certainly facilitate scoping contract writing. Statement of need, the convening ability, so the ability of either the grantee or collaborators, but collectively as a team, to bring organizations together. The project approach, your collaborating organizations, the health IT environment, this is attachment 2 that you would complete, but each organization, each TPO type organization should complete this. If you have collaborators that are non-TPO type organizations, they would not have to complete this attachment A2. A description of how you're going to integrate to your broader health system, offering of any in-kind resources, whether it be personnel, funding, or other. The value of this investment for you, anticipated challenges, the budget, and there is a budget template we provide to ask you to complete that, and integration with other state-funded efforts. So this essentially builds on that previous table that you created in the pre-application and expands on that. Successful full proposals shall address and describe in the project approach how project participant efforts will address the needs of a community for these 2 aspects of care coordination, how project participants identify or intend to identify shared patients across organizations, how project participants will improve and strengthen related workflows, how project participants will connect and utilize the highway or an HIE HISP that is capable of transacting via the highway, how the project will enable access to timely, clinically relevant information, how project participants will implement tightly scoped clinical use cases so that it is simple enough to plan, test, implement, and move into production within a 6 to 12-month time frame. In this sense, if that's year 1, that allows the remaining grant project time frame, year 2, can be spent improving the pathway and workflows and attain your volume targets. How the project will support improved outcomes and or efficiency. So some examples of reduce hospital readmissions, improve medication reconciliation, reduce preventable medical errors, avoid duplicate tests, all would be realistic outcomes. How the project will leverage existing health IT and lightweight add-ons, so enhanced EHR functions and their modules, and how project participants will involve clinical or business leadership in the program. There is a community planning award aspect to this, so we recognize that there may be a number of applications that show promise, but some of them may need more work to be awarded a full community grant. So in that sense, we would award them a community planning award of up to $25,000. Applicants awarded a community planning grant will be required to develop a transformation plan. Upon completion of the transformation plan and related deliverables, MeHI may, based on funds remaining, offer a community implementation grant award. So the applications were reviewed and evaluated on the following criteria. We're looking for compliance, need, feasibility, ability, capacity, commitment, and impact. And as part of this program, should you accept the contract, there are a number of requirements you will be accepting. The first is development of a transformation plan, commit to achieving all program milestones and deliverables, and where applicable, commitment by each collaborating organization to achieve a deliverable, commit to adhering to the care transition and care management focus areas and related requirements and intentions, commit to measuring progress against the mutually agreed to metrics, include the participation of multiple unaffiliated collaborating organizations that includes a minimum of behavioral health and or long-term post-acute care organization. While we're not specifying the number of collaborating organizations, roughly 4 to 8 TPO-type unaffiliated collaborators would be expected, with 8 or more total collaborators. When I say total collaborators, that would be the affiliated, unaffiliated, TPO, and non-TPO types encouraged. So again, civic organizations such as towns, cities, schools, public safety can be included as collaborating organizations, and preference would certainly be given to applications that include such collaborations. Establish a community collaboration that aims to engage community stakeholders more broadly than the grant and may serve as a forum to establish connections and exchange best practices. So as part of this grant, we're also looking for you to reach out perhaps beyond just the collaborators, to work to build the community and create opportunities for people to share feedback and their experiences even outside of the grant, and to create opportunities for people to connect with one another. Submit semi-annual reports, submit a final report, and attend an annual grantee in-person event. There is one underway for this year that we're contemplating roughly the first week of October. More to follow on that. Cooperate with MeHI to measure and publicize the impact of the project on healthcare cost and quality in the community. Clearly something we may be asking for later as you get toward the end of your grant efforts. MassTech will incorporate into its contract with program participants a requirement that if the applicant does not achieve at least milestone 2 within the period of the agreement, they will be required to return 50% of the incentives that they received. So here's the timeline. Pre-applications are due July 1st. The next date before that one are pre-application questions are due on June 19th, and then we'll post the question and answer file by June 24th. Our intent is to post a file by early next week with the questions we've gotten to date, and then collect whatever the other questions come in through our email, and then post another one by June 24th. The invitation to submit a full application will come sometime in July. Applications, questions will be due August 5th, with the question and answer file for that, for those organizations will be coming out on August 10th. And the applications for the full applications will be due on August 20th, with a hard copy due on August 21st, and notification of award will be in September. So questions should be submitted by email to proposals@masstech.org. All pre-application questions must be received by 5 p.m. on June 19th. Submission of questions by email is the preferred method of submission. Please review the Q&A file that's posted prior to submitting a question. You may find that the question you ask or are interested in asking has already been asked and answered. We will send updates to this, but no notifications will be sent, so I request that you check back frequently to see if there's any updates. Final pre-application questions responses will be posted by 5 p.m. on June 24th on the MeHI, MassTech, and ComBuy's websites. And I would encourage you to go to the MassTech website or the MeHI website at mehi.masstech.org to find more information about some of the things that are being done at MeHI and across the state and other efforts that are going on under the Connected Communities program. So with that, I'll go ahead and pause here and take whatever questions you may have asked.
Great. Our first question is, does this plan include behavioral health?
Yes, it does.
Second question, can this grant be used in conjunction with the e-referral requirement in the Prevention and Wellness Trust Fund to integrate care with community-based organizations such as a nurse association and the YMCA?
We'll go back and we'll think about the specifics of this question, but off the top of my head, I would say that one, integrating with other efforts that are ongoing from other state agencies is absolutely encouraged under this program. So if you have efforts like the e-referral program and you're doing some work on that, if there's a way to leverage that work on this grant in a non-duplicative manner, that's certainly something that we would look favorably upon. And certainly bringing on collaborators, as you mentioned, makes sense, and there's some TPO and non-TPO types there. So those would certainly be encouraged. But those organizations that have the opportunity to make an impact in the community would certainly be the types of collaborators that would be acceptable.
Great. Can a community health center be a lead agency?
Yes, they can.
What is the maximum number of organizations on any one team?
There is no maximum number. I'll go back to what we had said in the solicitation is that we envisioned collaborators, you know, in that I'd say the 8 range was roughly where I'd put kind of the middle on it. You know, the danger of having too many collaborators is be realistic about what you can actually get done over a period of time. However, if you have a very tight-knit community, and there's certainly some of those across Massachusetts that have a lot of organizations that they're collaborating with now, then that would certainly be wonderful to see more, and certainly would prove to be more impactful, presumably.
What is the maximum amount of money per year for one team?
I don't believe we put a maximum per year. I guess the way I would answer that would be how quickly you move through your milestones. So the milestones, so there's a $25,000 upfront payment you'll get, and then 25% of the remaining value for each milestone achieved. So if you make the assumption that you would be going after, let's say, milestones 1 and 2 in the first year, then you could take half of your grant costs and apply it to year 1, and then milestone 3 and 4 in year 2. That may be a way to look at it. But I don't believe we have a minimum or maximum. Let me rephrase that, a minimum that you'll get per year, and the maximum will not exceed whatever your grant contract is for.
Are 3rd and 4th year renewals of the grant possible?
At this time, we're not envisioning renewals for years 3 or 4.
Will the slides be made available after the call?
Yes, they will be.
If we already have many physician practices and at least one hospital involved and connected, do those have to be included as specific collaborators in the grant rather than the proposed new connected organization?
I think the way I would answer that would be that your collaborators would be organizations that are going to help contribute to you meeting the outcomes that you identified or the measures you identified. So if you are part of a kind of a health information organization and you have, we'll call it 20 organizations that you're working with, I would only include those 20 as collaborators if all of them are going to help contribute to you achieving your respective measures. If you're listed as a collaborator, there may be some requirements under the grant that are going to be placed upon them. So that's just something to consider.
How can an organization become a collaborative partner?
I would encourage, organizations that are, that have an interest in one another to reach out to one another. There's been a lot of effort across the state to do some community convening and get organizations chatting with one another. If you're not interested in being a lead organization on this, you could reach out to some other organizations that you think may be a good lead organization and see if they're going to be applying and then request to be a collaborator under their program. I think that this should open and create opportunities for organizations to freely contact one another and see if you can start to form teams to apply for this grant together. And that, at the end of the day, is really all part of the process that we're looking to encourage as part of this grant program.
To clarify, can a behavioral health organization be the lead agency?
Yes, a behavioral health organization can certainly be the lead organization, and we'd encourage behavioral health organizations to apply as part of this program.
Is there a limit on how many grants are going to be issued?
At this point, we're envisioning 5 to 8 grants to be issued. That's making an assumption, though, that we have grants that go out in the order of $500,000 each. There's certainly an opportunity for people to propose applications that are less than that. There's no reason you couldn't propose an effort at $100,000 or $200,000. And if we get more of those in, then that would certainly make for potentially more available awards.
Do community collaborators have to have an EMR?
No. I would say I don't believe there's a requirement that they have an electronic health record. There would be a requirement for an ability for them to exchange information digitally. So there's a number of ways that that information pathway could be established, though there would be an interest in them being able to keep that data digital when it gets into their organization. So I don't believe there's a strict requirement on having an EHR, but we're working to create more digital data and digital connections and less paper.
How would the grant apply for an organization that already has e-referrals and an HIE set up with health centers? How does the grant apply?
So my experience in working on this health information exchange business is that many organizations may have connections to a health information exchange. You may be connected to the Mass Highway, you may be submitting to public health registries, you may be coordinating care with a trading partner, you may use a HISP, a health information service provider, through your EHR or some other vendor. But the volume of exchange and the degree to which people are leveraging that health information exchange, in our experience, has been fairly low. Let me phrase that, remarkably low. And if there is a pathway that's pretty well traveled, maybe it's with 1 or 2 organizations. I believe there's always going to be an opportunity to strengthen those information pathways that exist, and then to build new ones to branch out, to round out maybe the different referral providers that you have. So if you're an organization that is full up with all your HIE requirements, and there's no need to improve your coordination digitally with other organizations, and this may not be the right grant. I don't think many people fall into that bucket, but I'd also say that there's always an opportunity to look at your community at large and figure out ways to bring in more organizations and interconnect more organizations to allow that ubiquitous exchange of information in support of improved patient care. So I think everyone should be looking at this hard as a good grant opportunity.
Do you have an expectation or vision for the types of documentation that may be shared between a TPO and a civic organization?
It's a good question. So what we talked about is the non-TPO type organization. So there are kind of two flavors of collaborators here. You've got your TPO type organizations and your non-TPO type organizations. The exchange is certainly going to occur with TPO type organizations. There's a question about whether or not you would exchange this information with non-TPO organizations. So as I think back to when we generated this, if you're a non-TPO type organization, one, you're not eligible to join the Mass Highway. At least I believe that's the current policy. So I'm not envisioning that these organizations would join the highway. However, they are going to be invaluable community partners that could help build and strengthen what it is you're working to do. So if you're working on outcomes around tightening the link between behavioral health and medical professionals in the community, and there's an interest in bringing in law enforcement, so when police arrive at a house for domestic disturbance and there's some things going on and there's some opportunities to intervene, that there could be some advisory roles that either the civic or municipalities could play to help you achieve your respective outcomes. So to answer the question directly, I'm not sure there would be a requirement for digital exchange with these non-TPO type civic organizations. If they are TPO type civic organizations, there could be something. So departments of public health may be an example. So long, roundabout answer. I hope I answered your question. If not, ask again.
Can a team of one organization apply, or should there at least be two?
I would say a team would imply more than one. So I would say there's no, I would not, you cannot apply as a single organization. There is a requirement to have a trading partner that may not have expressly been stated, but it's certainly implied throughout the grant. So there certainly can be no fewer than two, and per our intent, you would not be viewed favorably as a strong applicant is probably just two collaborators or one collaborator.
You mentioned that the communities are related to 3 Massachusetts regions. Is there a limit on how many grants will be issued per region?
No, there's not. And so we've got a community framework of 15 communities, and then those 15 communities are clustered into these 3 regions. The 3 regions are really just for us to, let me rephrase that, the communities and the regions are really there to establish a framework for us to engage the state to apply resources and such, and to generally organize some of our reporting. I would say that the communities and the regions aren't necessarily restrictive of you generating your teams, and we're not envisioning limiting the number of awards to any one region.
Will behavioral health organizations be prioritized for funding in this grant?
Behavioral health organizations would certainly be viewed favorably as part of this grant, but we're looking at the evaluation criteria that we identified as how we'll be reviewing the respective applications.
Does an IPA that already runs an HIE qualify as a lead organization? It is involved with quality measurement, contracting, and connected to an academic network.
The primary requirement of a lead applicant is that you're a TPO type organization. So if you are if under, I don't recall the specific regulatory spot under HIPAA, but under HIPAA, if you're defined as a TPO organization, or you define yourself as a TPO organization, then you would be eligible to apply. I will say, though, that there are organizations that we've heard from that are interested in being part of the granting process that may, maybe TPO may not be a TPO organization, but they're playing a fairly leading role in organizing teams. So I would say just because you're the lead applicant doesn't mean you can't play a major role in convening organizations and working toward building toward the outcomes of this particular grant. But you have to be a TPO organization as defined under HIPAA to apply.
Can a behavioral health EHR agency be a collaborator on the grant?
Can you read that again? I'm sorry.
Can a behavioral health EHR agency be a partner?
Can a behavioral health EHR, I'm assuming the word agency I'll call vendor. If you mean an EHR vendor, can they be a collaborator? Well, there's certainly an important aspect of the grant. I believe they can be a collaborator, but you know what? I haven't really been asked that, so I should, we'll get that answered. As I'm thinking through the criteria, I don't believe there's any reason they couldn't be a collaborator, and certainly having them as a collaborator would make for presumably a stronger team showing that EHR support for this. But we'll make sure we go and put together a tight answer on that and push it out as part of the FAQ.
Can grant funds be used to hire contractors or consultants to support the grant and be used by the collaborators? And can the funds be used for additional staff?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we envision as part of this funding, and frankly where a good part of the funding would go, would be to hire, we'll call it a dedicated project officer. We know organizations are strapped already with the number of things they're being asked to do. To be able to add this grant to someone's plate of activities that it's already full may be a stretch and may not get you where you want to go. If the funds can be used to bring on, hire a project officer or hire a consultant to serve as a project officer, I would strongly encourage that. We really do believe that a good, solid person, one single person, can do a lot of work coordinating the activity that needs to be performed and completed under this grant, and be able to orchestrate the efforts of the numerous other people that are going to be clearly remarkably important to making this fully successful. But certainly would encourage using funds to hire a project officer or hire a consultant to serve as that project officer, but no requirement to do so.
Do the collaborators have to be from the same region?
No, they do not, or community.
What is the latest start and end date of the grant?
The latest start date, so the process will be, we'll get your applications August 20th. We'll then go through an internal and external review process, but because we had a pre-application, presumably you're already vetted in the system, so that should expedite some of the eligibility checks and vetting as an organization. That takes a couple weeks to go through that process, though. We then generate the contract, we then send out, or the grant agreement, I'm sorry, we send out the grant agreement. So it'll take us a couple weeks just to get that grant agreement out the door to successful applicants. And then you have to review that grant agreement and then send it back in, and then it's executed pretty quickly after that, assuming there's no significant changes you're requesting. So I suspect an earliest start date is going to be the middle to end of September. would be the earliest that we would be under the grant agreement. And was the other a late start date or a late end date?
What is the end date?
The end date will be 2 years from the time of your grant agreement is signed or executed. So, you know, October 1st, then it would be 2 years from then.
To clarify, the funds are okay for existing staff, and what about new hires?
Yes, so funds can be used to support existing staff or to support bringing on a new hire or to contract with someone to be a consultant.
Could you explain the 15 communities and their relationship to MeHI?
So the 15 communities, again, as part of this effort, this is a pretty early effort we underwent probably over a year ago. We were looking to identify a way to, you know, better engage the state. You know, there's the state of Massachusetts, a lot of activity here, there's a lot of things going on, and we needed a way to better get out into the community in a somewhat methodical way. So we're working to develop a framework for the state, and rather than creating our own MeHI specific framework, we decided to partner with Health Policy Commission, who has done a ton of work evaluating and trying to understand the state. And they developed what they call these secondary service markets. These were actually derived through a process starting with the Dartmouth Atlas for Healthcare and identifying the health referral regions. Then there was the, from there was this kind of primary, pardon if I'm mixing up my terms here, it'd be primary referral regions, I could be wrong there. But there were over 100 of those, and they needed something that was in between a 3 and 100, and you know, having that kind of 15 seemed like a right number. They worked through a lot of data analysis in working to define these particular communities. So we decided to adopt their work and build that as part of our framework. So the 15 communities are really derived from those secondary service markets as defined through Health Policy Commission. I believe those communities will undergo continual kind of data scrutiny and may be rearranged as the data evolves, and our communities will certainly follow suit with that. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we've received so far, so we'll just hold tight for another minute or so and see if any other questions come in. All right, we don't see any other questions coming in at this time, so if any do come in after we hang up, we'll go ahead and capture that. If you do have other questions, please send them to the proposals@masstech.org email address. We'll go ahead and capture those. We'll put them into our FAQ document that's under development, and then we're going to plan to post this first version of that FAQ, working to get it out by early next week. And then from there, we look forward to your applications or your pre-applications due on July 1st. And again, please look at the time. Don't forget the times on that. We will not accept any applications that come in late. Certainly come in early. And the July 1st one is only an electronic application. There's no need for a hard copy accompanying version with that. All right, so with that, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your pre-applications. Thank you, and have a nice day.